How does this work, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? A knife attack kills 29 people and injures 130 at a China train station. And they say 10 people came with machetes and knives and started attacking. Here in America, could that happen? It definitely could. The people are going to come out of the word works. We need to get knives off the street. Ban knives. Only good guys should have knives. Wait, what? If you can't have guns and you're preventing people to have guns to protect themselves, then you're limiting yourself to protect yourself, right? No. Then you're going to have knife attacks. It doesn't matter. If people want to inflict damage on somebody and they can't get like a knife or a gun, they're going to do the next thing, the next weapon. And knives have been used in society for decades, for years, for hundreds of years. Before the gun, people had swords and knives and daggers and spears. So whatever they can get their hands on. Okay, let's say you don't get a knife. You take those off the street. People use baseball bats. Okay, you limit those. Then people will start taking into consideration, we'll get obsidian rocks. And if you don't know what an obsidian rock is, it's basically a rock that came from like a volcano. And where I grew up as a kid, we had obsidian rocks. And you literally could sharpen these down like the Indians did, make them to a spear, and walk up to somebody and stab them in the neck and hurt them. You violently could. But it says over 130 were injured. Could this have been another ISIS attack? Yeah, it could have been. They say violence only happens really in America. That's not true. This was 129 people that caused this accident, and it's a tragedy that people don't believe that this can happen everywhere else. They just believe that gun violence is here in America. Okay, is it a high violent knife violence over in China? I don't know. I don't live there, but from the article it says knife attackers with an S kills 29 people and injures 130. So I'm going to play a snippet of what this news reporter is talking about. I don't know if it's any good or what. I'm just giving you my opinion. I think it's bullshit that people are doing this. And it's like when you have like an attack in America, people are just going to see that and go, okay, people are scared. We're going to attack somewhere else. But you never know. Some people don't even pay attention to like worldly news. So the attacks in Orlando, Florida might not even have came across to these people in China. They might not even been listening to it. So what do you think of this right now?
I heard you're an avid practitioner with weapons training.
I think that everybody, especially women, should all carry a firearm and be trained on how to use it. The reason being is because that's martial arts started out that way. If you want an opinion or you want a right to live free, you have to be able to protect yourself. There's a lot of people out there that sometimes get it in their mind to take what you have, or they're having a bad day and they want to inflict damage on you and they want to commit crimes. And they never go for the strong guy. They're never going to pick out the biggest guy in the bar. They're going to go ahead and look for weak people to vandalize and criminalize. And so if you have a firearm, it's almost kind of like having nuclear power. Mm-hmm. You don't need a nuclear weapon because you have it. You know, no one's ever fired off a nuclear missile. Why? Because you don't want to suffer the consequences. And it's always shown that in states that have higher registered guns have lower crime rates. So it only makes sense. It's like, well, yeah, you know, here's an example. People break into schools all the time and shoot children, right? Mm-hmm. When was the last time someone broke into a police station and shoot it up?
Yeah.
No, you know, people don't, you know.
And this is Ted Nugent, baby. Rock and roll star. Woo!
Turn off your cell phone. Shut down Facebook immediately. You really need to hear this, and 7 minutes is all I need. You're going to hear something that every other person has been too freaking scared to tell you. But I'm breaking this cone of silence because I'm sick of the games, I'm sick of the hype, and I'm sick of the BS we've all been fed. But I'm going to put a stop to it right now.
And so I just come back once more to the motivation for why you now do so much stuff.
Because I've learned that freedom is not free, and I found that the reason the whole world sucks and America sucks less is because the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, outlines an experiment where freedom rules the day of individuality, and that can only be secured by crushing those enemies that would take it away. So those warriors that put themselves in the face of that evil enemy, and anybody who would take away our individual rights and our individual freedoms, they're the enemy. They need to be killed. And the guys that went over and did that, they paid the ultimate sacrifice.
For a man who is a patriot, who purports to love his country, that was quite shocking disrespect to your president.
Let me put it in official CNN Piers Morgan interview terms, shall I?
Yes.
My limey friend?
Yes.
Anybody that wants to disarm me can drop dead. Anybody that wants to make me unarmed and helpless, people that want to literally create the proven places where more innocents are killed, called gun-free zones, we're going to beat you. We're going to vote you out of office or suck on my machine gun. You can take it whichever way you want.
Much as I'd love to suck on your machine gun, the whole point of your defense is that a lot of people do drop dead precisely because you are armed to the teeth, and you'd like everybody else to be.
Not true at all. Here, write this down. See, you're so rich.
You write this down. 80 people a day die in America from gunshots.
And 75 of them to 78 of them, statistics by the Uniform Crime Report by the FBI and the UN study on violent crime, 78 of those 80 are let out of their cages by corrupt judges and prosecutors who know that recidivism is out of control, know that they'll commit the crimes again, and they let them walk through plea bargaining, early release, and program.
They still
Kiss my ass. Yeah. Where you have the most armed citizens in America, you have the lowest violent crime rate. Where you have the worst gun control, you have the highest crime rate. Piers, choose one. Do you want a lot of crime? We have it. Gun-free zones. Do you want less crime? We have that. More people with concealed weapons permit. Why do you guys resist that statistic?
Well, don't say you guys.
It's you guys.
No.
Well, unless you're playing the devil's advocate.
I can play any advocate I like.
You're
it's
doing
my
a fine
show.
job.
Right.
You're playing the idiot's advocate here.
That's not the idiot's
More
advocate.
guns equals less crime. Period.
Unless I'm wrong, and I don't want to kiss your ass at this point, if you don't mind. Unless I'm wrong with your argument, well, you're basically saying that 90% of the gun crime comes from people let out of prison.
It's 96%, by the way, but go ahead.
But they still have to get access to firearms. If you had your way, there would be 10 times as many firearms, right?
Not true at all.
You want everyone in America to own a gun?
Not at all. I've never said that.
What's your position?
And I got to tell you,
what is your position?
And I hope you don't edit this out. Whenever I've done interviews with guys that are inclined to be anti-gun, they always go, well, Nugent wants everybody to have a machine gun. Nugent wants all the deer dead.
What does Nugent want?
Not even close.
What do you want?
What I want is the Second Amendment. We the people, free individuals to have the right to keep and bear arms for self-defense. Find fault with that.
And he is telling the truth, though, that basically most people who, or most places or cities or states who have the high registered gun people that can carry guns illegally, not against the law, legally, they're the ones that 9 times out of 10 there's less crime in that general location. And these politicians, they come out of the woodwork and say, no, dog, you don't need guns. The guns are causing the violence. And usually everybody who has ever caused a crime, they had some like background check. They had something that the government was looking at them. The guy, like I said, in Orlando, they said he was multiple times checked by the government, by the FBI, and they're like, nah, it's cool. If I would be checked that much by the government, I would be in prison, sitting in a cage right now. But because this guy, they probably paid him off, he was able to go out there and shoot and do whatever he wanted. Even though, yes, he technically got the gun legally from like a Walmart or from like a store, he technically went out there and had all these FBI warnings. and nobody did nothing, which is, to me, kind of weird to say. And we're going to listen to Jesse Ventura versus Piers Morgan and see what he has to say. Because that Morgan dude always wants to open his mouth about, we don't need guns. And Jesse Ventura is a dude who will openly talk and speak his mind, because he was a Navy SEALs, a high Navy SEALs, and a war veteran. Let's see what he says.
Mexico has strict gun control. You cannot own a gun in Mexico. And they had 20,000 people dead last year in the drug cartel wars.
But Mexico has a very particular problem involving drugs. I can cite you Britain, average... Well, let me just throw it back at you. In Britain, for example, an average of 35 people a year are murdered with guns. In Germany, it's about 40 to 50. France, the same. Spain, the same. Italy, there's a pattern here. America, 11 to 12,000 a year.
Yeah.
This country has more guns than anybody else and more gun murders.
Yeah.
It's inarguable, isn't it?
No, not at all.
It is.
Because I was in the Philippines physically the day Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and made himself a dictator. And the first thing that dictator did, he gave the people of the Philippines 2 weeks to turn in all their guns, or it was the death penalty. Now, why would a dictator do that? Why would he make his #1 priority when he took over as dictator to disarm the public? The Second Amendment is there, and it was put in there not for hunting and fishing like they like to say, because back when they did it, if you didn't hunt or fish, you didn't eat. It was put in there so the citizens would have the ability, if their government became oppressive, they could defend themselves against oppressive government. And I think that overrules all the gun deaths, because let's remember something. A gun is simply a tool. I have a gun safe at home, and I've never come home and heard those guns going off on their own. People kill people. All right, how many people here die because of car accidents of drunk driving? Do we go to the Ford Motor Company and tell them stop making these automobiles because people get drunk and kill people in cars?
It's a facile argument.
It's a what?
It's a facile argument.
So, did you hear what he said? He went from all these other countries having moderately gun violence, and Jesse Ventura even says, even Frank Mir says this, a UFC fighter says this, we have 3,000-pound SUVs. If I wanted to kill somebody, let's say, you know how you hear on the news, like these people who line up the streets for like Black Friday, or they line up the streets for an Apple phone, like an iPhone, and they wait outside the Apple, or they wait outside the Apple store. Yeah, the Apple store, iPhones, whatever the fuck it is, the Apple store, and they wait in line. I could easily take my parents' car or my brother's big, full-size pickup truck, V8, and run like 20 people down and just mow them down, and that would be more horrendous than me shooting people, because you're physically running them over, hearing their bones crunch and break. And this guy's saying, well, that's not the same thing, you know. Here's the thing. People always don't want to take in consideration you could use knives, you could use your car. And there's more drunk driving and texting relating accidents on the road nowadays. It's not like people are grabbing their cell phones and you're calling Samsung and you're like, no, Samsung, we don't need that anymore, because people are dying in their cars. And it's funny when Jesse Ventura is speaking his mind, and so does Ted-Nugent speaking his mind, and these people get like, oh shit, they're telling us the truth. And they don't want people to know the truth. They want, because they're these politicians, these weird people, and they don't want the free speakers speaking their mind. And these two dudes are speaking their mind. And we'll get back to Jesse Ventura speaking his mind about the car incident.
There's no equivalence between drunk driving and lethal firearms. My point is...
Wait a minute. A car is a 2,000-pound projectile that can go 100 miles an hour.
I have no problem with an American believing that their right under the Constitution is that they can defend themselves, especially in their own home, if they're being attacked and they have a weapon.
It's also against government.
I have a big problem with a disturbed young man, as we saw in Colorado, being able to buy 6,000 rounds of ammunition and a high-powered assault weapon and go into a movie theater and blow away 70 Americans.
they always say assault weapons. I can go get a handgun and shoot people up. I can get a BB gun and still inflict damage on people. I could walk into McDonald's with a BB gun, pull it out, shoot somebody in the eye, and they're injured. It doesn't matter. It's still a weapon. They always say, well, assault weapons. It's always the word assault weapon.
I have a big problem with that. And nobody else in America in high office seems to share that big problem.
Well, I'll tell you what, Piers. I have a conceal and carry license. Had I been in there, I would have taken this guy out before he could have killed that many people.
Well, I think that, again...
But because, let's remember, police can't stop crimes. Police show up after they're over. Remember that. So when you talk about me not being able... If there would have been a legitimate conceal and carry in that theater... Quite possibly they could have taken this guy out and saved people's lives. Or you
could have had the gunfight at the OK Corral in there and lost even more lives.
And he's making a point. If you have people that can literally carry guns, they could fight back. And a lot of times, I'll say this, a lot of times, let's say a gunman that goes in to shoot somebody at a theater or a park or whatever, like the Orlando thing, normally... This is what happens. You have a sicko that goes in there and he pulls out a gun and starts shooting. And when a guy shoots back, they might run away because they're not expecting to get fired back on. And it is true. When you call cops, when the cops are called, usually like the violence that happened, your house broken into, the fight at the bar already happened, and the police are just there to write a note and say this is what happened and this is what not happened. And he's right. If you had like armed security guards or whatever, they could hear guns. They could go in there and stop the guy. And a lot of times, like I said, if you pull out a gun and fight back, a lot of those guys are actually scared. A lot of these guys are they're not expecting you to fight back, and it probably could have stopped them. If let's say you're in the movie theater and you're not getting shot at, and you're getting shot at, and then you can reach out, pull out your little pistol, and even if you shoot at him and he ducks and moves, he might run out and run away from the theater because he's not expecting people to shoot back. That's the honest truth.
Couldn't he? That's what could happen. Anyway, let's take a break.
What roll of the dice would you like? You'd prefer to be unarmed when he comes in? Give me my weapon when he comes in.
I think this country needs to do something about its gun laws. I really do.
And this guy's sitting there saying, well... I don't believe in guns. I mean, I can understand people don't like guns and they don't want to have guns, but in today's society with terrorism and all this and that, I think everybody should have a gun. I think the English should have a gun. I think you're only allowed to have guns in England if I'm not mistaken for like hunting or something, or for like sport, which I think is so dumb. You should be able to protect yourself. You should be able to have a handgun. If asshole comes breaking in your door, you should have the right to go, you're in my house, buddy, boom, boom, and the guy dies. And here's a lot of incidents I've heard here in America where some asshole will break into someone's house, and when they're in someone's house, they shoot him, and let's say the guy dies. The parents of that kid will go, why did you shoot my kid? He was only 19 years old. He didn't deserve to die. And then the guy who shoots him goes up to the parents, did your kid deserve to be in my house? And here's what a lot of the broke people say. Well, you had insurance. If my son would have broken and stole your Xbox, you could have got that back because your insurance would have covered it. And the guy who shoots him goes, I shouldn't have to have insurance on stuff, and your son shouldn't have been in my house. And I would tell the same person, would you want me coming into your house and stealing your stuff? And go, no, that's different. That's totally different. No, it isn't. It's like this. It's like a story my brother was talking about in his YouTube video where he got his truck broken into, and I'll play that little snippet right now so you guys can see it, and then I will read right back.
Call the cops. She gets home, sees this kid climbing out of her window and shoots him. Obviously, she felt afraid for her life, most likely, which is why she did that. But then, you know, the family comes out and tries to justify what was going on. So this kid does that, and of course he's a good, upstanding kid, is what they say. Only cared about education, loved living life, and loved learning and all this stuff. Here's the problem, though. You said that growing up in the hood, which I believe is what her quote was, growing up in the hood, they don't know how he needs to make money in order to get clothes and stuff for school. So what they're saying is, screw this lady. She shouldn't have come home. She shouldn't have protected her stuff. She should have just let her brother, this lady's brother, she should have just let this kid go in this house, steal her stuff, who knows whatever else, go steal from other houses, go steal from other people. And it's okay because you live in the hood, and it's okay because people don't need to know how other people make their money. So whether it's by a hook or by crook, it's like this kid's doing something illegal, but the family doesn't want them to know. The family's like, oh, just ignore what our child is doing, ignore what my brother's doing, and just let him steal your stuff. You probably have insurance, something like that, and so that's how we're going to justify. You pay for insurance, so you're going to get your stuff back anyway, which is a crap reason. So that's my rant.